Hi everybody, this is Terry from Sweet Pea Papers and the Sweet Pea Papers Facebook group, the Junk Journal Tutorials and More Facebook group, and the Junk Journal and Paper Crafts group. And don't forget the coffee shop, Sweet Pea Papers. All these links are going to be below the video. Now, for more links that are going to be below the video, this is one of our BeeBeeCraft crafting videos, Crafting with BeeBeeCraft. And so below this video are going to be all the links to everything that I got in the unboxing video. So go back 2 videos. This is video 3, our 3rd video for this series, 3rd and last. And also, so everything that I got is below the video. Now, I did get the die from there, and but not my pliers or, of course, toothpicks. I did get, I think, the straight pins from there, or the capped pins. You know what I mean? The pins, the ones, head pins. And then I got some wire because the head pins are too thin. I got some Mod Podge, which I didn't get from there, my scissors, my paintbrush. These are the pieces that I cut from the die. And these are some jump rings that I got from BeeBeeCraft as well. So all of the links of everything that we're using in this video that are part of the big list are down there. And then there's also a 10% coupon code for you under the video, and so be sure to use that video code and get your 10% off for your first time visit, I believe. So what we're going to do today, and I've never done this before, so it'll be interesting, is we're going to make some paper beads. Now, the first thing we need to know is the paper part. Now, I've got cream color, white color, and some black already. And I saved this last black one so that I could show you. Now, the paper is just half of a 8.5 by 11. This is 5.5. So it fits perfectly into my 6-inch Big Shot, which is what which is my die cutting machine. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put the die on the paper and run it through the Big Shot, and that's going to give us these triangular shapes, and we're going to get some offcut shapes, which are going to be some weird rectangular shapes that are, I don't know, parallelograms, things like that. Just weird, different shapes that are not our pointed shapes. Okay, so I kept some of those because they were angular as well, and I thought, hey, maybe we can use them. You never know. I might be too confused by the time we get started, and we may not be able to use them at all, and I'm not promising any beads will turn out from this. This is the first time I've ever done it. Okay, so to get these triangles, I had to put the die on the paper, and the paper has to be in the machine when you first start. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your Big Shot plates. You're going to take your big regular plate that always goes in. Then if you've got these from BeeBeeCraft, they're the thin ones, so you're going to need the thin spacer, which makes it taller or thicker depending on what you want to do. This is your bottom plate that you always use. It comes and it looks like this when you get it. Then once you start cutting on it, then it's going to look like this, and that's perfectly normal. You're going to have the outlines of the things you cut on the plate. What you want to do is you're going to have to get new ones when they get too curved from being pressed through the die cut machine, and then you can't use them anymore. So that's why I have an extra set on there. And on a side note, and I know it's not BeeBeeCraft, but it's important, you can get these clear ones on Temu for a set of 2 for $8 and something. Just a side note. And only because we're talking about our die cut machine. So we're going to put these in the machine already. Well, we're going to put our paper on. Now I'm going to have to readjust this once I pick it up, but I want to show you how to do it. So you're going to put your paper on there. You can see that you've got extra room on either side, which is nice. Pretend my voice isn't cracking. I'm a 14-year-old boy, really, at heart. So now, a trick that I figured out to make it easier on yourself, the actual cutout is the blade, which is on the raised up side with the bumps. Those are the blades. So you're going to put them face down, so the smooth side is going to be up facing you. But the part that cuts doesn't go quite all the way to the edge. So if you want to save yourself a little bit of cutting out, because you are going to have to cut these out, I discovered, you're going to put these right to the edge. Be careful, so make sure it cuts out. And the next one, now there's a couple others that I'm not using. I did use them on some of the cream and some of the white. And the other 2 that come with this set are these 2 smaller ones. Okay? So I did make some smaller ones. I'm just not going to do it in this example. Okay, so we're going to put them on there right next to each other. We're going to end up not using this top half. We could, you know, but this one is too wide. It sticks out, so you can't have that. So we're going to put this one next to this one. And we're going to put this one next to this one. And they all fit except for those little ones. Okay? So then when you put it on the machine, you're going to put this one plate. You've got 2 clear ones. Remember, you put the other clear one on top and you just kind of drop it on there so you don't move your die. Then you pick it up. Let's see if I can do it without moving them. And put it on the machine just like this. Now I cannot put the die cut machine on this glass surface and show you because it makes it slide and it moves it all out of the camera and it just doesn't work. So we're going to put this on the die cut machine. We're going to slide it in the opening and then we're going to crank the handle and maybe I shouldn't have banged that on there. We're going to crank the handle and this will go through the machine, and when it comes out the other side, all these will be cut out. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move this out of the way. Yeah, a couple of them did move, so I'm going to take the clear plastic one off the top, and I'm going to readjust so that they're right against the edge. And then lay the plate back down. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just telling you. I'm over here. Hello. Okay, so I'm going to, see, I had 2 that were too close together. One crossed over the other. I don't know how that happened. Well, I mean, I do know. I do know how it happened. So I'm cranking it now and putting it through the machine. It'll get harder to crank once you get to the die. And you just keep going till the die come out the other side. Sorry about that. Sorry about the camera jiggling. It's going to. Now when I take them out, they still look like this. So then all we have to do is take the top one off and set it to the side. Take the paper and the die off and set them to the side. and then put this back on the machine. Okay? And then since we're not going to do any more, then stick the top one on there too so that you can store it. Never store them in the machine. Always take them, here's the machine. Always take them and lay them sideways like this to store them. Don't store them in the machine this way. It will warp them. Okay? Oh, my handle just fell off. My handle came unscrewed, so I have it just balanced on there. When I move it, sometimes the handle comes off. Whoopsie. My rear end hit the table. Okay, so now we take the die off the paper. Maybe I shouldn't have shown you this in black, but it's just as hard to see in the other colors as well. So we've got the die, and we put them to the side. And now we've got, if I'd have done it a little bit closer to the edge, we would have had some triangles that were already cut out. But we don't. So what I'm going to do is put it in the paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim right where those ones that went to the bottom, right where they are, right there. And that will give us all of these triangles that face this way with the bottom part over here. So I'm going to do that. Make sure that you line it up. If you give some square ends on them, it's fine. You won't see the very little pointed ends. Well, you will if you do it backwards. But anyway, you'll see in a minute. And just cut it off. And then when you go to take it off the paper trimmer, I've got a couple like this, which is pretty cool. I'm going to leave them together. I could trim them right here and have this triangle and these two kind of odd shapes. But I'm going to leave them like that because I kind of like those shapes. And then we're going to take this and do the same thing on this end. Now I'm going to cut this right across here to get these big ones off. And then I'm going to take the big piece and I'm going to run it through and cut these little ones off. Okay, so let me do that. You know, oh, here we got one triangle. Got one triangle. Out of all that. Wait a minute. Let me turn this around. Well, hi, Oz. My co-pilot here. Oz. Oh, I forgot to turn the heater off. I hope that isn't too noisy. Keeps my legs warm. It's pretty chilly in here. We're expecting snow later today and tomorrow. So I'm going to end up with this spare piece that I'll throw away. Then I'll end up with all these pieces. These two I'm going to take apart. Got a couple triangles. Here's just a rectangle. I think I can get rid of that. I have enough of those already. And some other odd shaped pieces. Now I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut the triangle off of this one. Okay, I think I'm going to use that. So I'm going to throw away these 3 little pieces of paper, plus a couple other little pieces of paper that I had left over from the cream color when I cut them out. I'm going to toss those in the bin. Okay, so now, oh, and I forgot to tell you, when the die come, they're connected. So they're going to be connected together, not all of these, but like 2 of them at a time. They're going to be connected by a little piece of metal, and you have to get that off so that you don't see it when you're cutting your pieces. Otherwise, you'll have a piece with that little thing hanging off. So all you do is take a pair of needle nose pliers. You grab it onto that little piece, which is going to be off the side. Don't grab your die, just grab that little piece and work it back and forth until it comes right off. It doesn't take very long, and it's not very hard to do. But you have to do that before you use the die. Okay, so put these back over here. Then I can put them back in the envelope, or the plastic that it came in, so I can keep them together when we're done. I also got this one, which cuts long rectangles, but we really didn't need long rectangles, so I didn't keep them. So we're going to put the pliers away too, up with the scissors, because we don't really need those anymore. Now these head pins are too small. I mean, they're not too small, because if you wrap around them, then they're going to be the correct size. Some of them are actually curved in half already, because they're so small and so thin. They became curved in the package just from shipping. Can you see that? There's a little flat spot on the end, and that's the head. Probably can't see that. There's a little flat spot on the end, and that's the head. And then it's just got a regular, and it's dull at this end. It's not pointed. Okay. So we've got some straight ones, but I really don't know about wrapping around these. We got a lot of curved ones. We probably can straighten them out. They're very, very thin. And it just has a little bump in it. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to try to straighten out a piece of this metal. Oh, let me get my snips. See if I can cut that. Then I'm going to order some thicker ones next time. And then I'll be able to do what we're doing now directly on the pins. And then before it dries, you're going to pull the pin out because you don't want it stuck to the pin. You want to be able to put them together, you know, on bigger, longer pins. And if you want to leave it on the smaller pin, it's okay to let it stick to it. So there's a couple different ways you can do a couple different things if you don't want it to slide up and down, if you want it to stay in the spot where it is. So the only thing about using this is you're going to have to do something to each end to keep your bead from sliding off. You only do one end at the beginning because you do want to take it off, or you don't, maybe. And then you leave the other end straight, if we can get them straight. Probably not that piece. I don't know, it's coming pretty straight. You're going to curl it up at one end, so we can leave that as our curly up end. Then for our pin, you don't need it super long, and we can straighten out this curl pretty well. Let me grab my snips and see if I can snip it. The only thing that would be a problem would be my hands. Didn't think of that. Alright. I have these. These aren't really what these are for, I don't think. But we'll see if it cuts them. So I want to cut it about the length that I want it to be, plus a curl at the end. This particular one is going to have a curl at both ends. I'm going to do it so that it stays on the wire. Did I call it cord before the whole time through? I probably did. So I'm going to leave enough at each end to curl it up. I do not have the right pair of pliers, and what they look like, and I'm going to get them next time, is, let me get the needle nose. They look like a pair of needle nose, only there's a smaller and then a larger section and then a larger section and then the plier part itself. So you've got larger, medium, smaller, and then you can wrap your wire around it and get those different diameters. So let's cut this piece off. Look at that. Let me do it again. So I got a little hitch in my giddy up. There we go. Okay, so let's see if we can make one. And the reason I did the different color papers is because I want different colors in my bead. Now, you're going to need some gel medium or some Mod Podge or whatever you want to use. It depends on if you want it to be shiny when you end up, or if you use the matte and it makes it less shiny, because I found the matte still has a little bit of a shine to it. Yeah. And so we're going to have to use that. So now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select a piece that we're going to use. So let's use one of these bigger square ones. And in fact, why don't we use one of the rectangular ones for the bottom? Because then it'll be our base. Okay, so this will be our base. So we're going to put Mod Podge on it. Now remember, never done this before, only seen it done. I had to look it up. So that's how that goes. Yeah, there's a skin on my Mod Podge. I haven't used it in a while. Take that off. Throw it away. I don't really need it. Mod Podge is just like a glue. You can make your own with glue and water. It's the same difference. Just keep it thicker, whatever thickness you want it to be. I guess that's going to be alright. Try not to get it everywhere. I don't even have an apron on. Let me put my apron on. Because I have one of my newer shirts on and I don't really want to get Mod Podge on it. So let me put this on over my head. On through there. Yes, sirree, Bob. And then I got to tie it on the other side. And look at me go. Now all I have to do is find the tie on the other side. There it is. There it is. Should have had my apron on the whole time. apologize. It's kind of fun listening to me put my apron on, though, isn't it? A little entertainment. Some all crooked. I'm not that old, but I already have one of those little old lady humps, one of those dowager humps on my back. So putting things on that drape over can be a little challenging. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint. Let's start with black. Oh, I don't have a black one like that. Okay, we'll start with the cream color. And we're going to paint it with the Mod Podge. And we're going to get it on the glass, so don't worry. It'll just wash right off. So we're going to put Mod Podge on the inside, what's going to be the inside of it. And I think you want a fair amount on there. You don't really want it to dry until you roll it up. Then we're going to roll it up around the wire. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we're going to roll it up around the wire. Look at that. Yeah, this is so small. So very small. I had it, but I keep pulling it off. With the heater on, my Mod Podge is going to dry fairly quickly. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it, even though mine's not going to turn out correct because I don't have anything big enough around to wrap it. Now I can also come back, once I get the thickness going, can also come back and go around and around and cover up my mistake, which is my kind of square part, because it still slides up and down on the wire. I'm going to put some more Mod Podge on there because it started to dry. And we're also going to put Mod Podge on here to help stick it. And we're just going to keep wrapping it around, trying to make it round. Mine's a little difficult. The hands, you know, the hands. Then we're going to go right back up over that mistake. Try to pull it tighter. Then we're going to come back. We're going to do more Mod Podge. And I'm pretty sure we should be using more than what I'm using. I'm going to put some on here. We're going to put some on both sides. We're just going to make a big mess. We don't care. What do we care? It's on the glass surface. We'll just use the razor blade and scrape it all off once it's dried. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Yeah, yeah. And we're going to keep wrapping it around. You can see already we have a shape. That's what we'll call it, a shape. We have a shape. And you can see the Mod Podge. And you can see this part getting fatter because wrapping it around more, but also because of my mistake at the very beginning. So we're just going to keep wrapping it around, wrapping it around. Oops, I'm holding it off camera to try to wrap it. I'm sorry. Then it needs more Mod Podge. Let's put some more on there. We'll wrap it around some more. You probably could just use glue. Just white glue, school glue. I think that would work just fine. Now, normally, this end would be small, like this end, but it isn't, because I'm not doing it correctly. But I'm just showing you what to do. And I had something on my fingers that's dark, probably glue. So that came off on the Mod Podge. Alright, so we've got our bead that's got our very variety of thicknesses. And we glue it to itself. And let's come along and we'll take the black of this with the 3 prongs. We're going to put Mod Podge on it. Do it over here so our glue's all kind of in one spot. So I'm going to put the Mod Podge on there. And then we're going to put it on the other side. Where we're going to start to wrap it. Okay? So then, well, this is wider than that, so that's not really going to work, is it? So we want to be able to see both colors. So let's move this down. And look, just from holding it, I've curved it, but we can just straighten it back out. Then we're going to take this part, and we'll wrap it around up here. And that will give us the black and the cream. Wow, the Mod Podge is coming, the color's coming off, the black is coming off. Now, after we get around once, you can see we've got strips. So let's move that down a little bit. And we'll do a strip around and a strip around. Now let's, oh, they are different lengths already. This looks terrible, but I'm sure there's a trick to it. It's probably more Mod Podge than what I'm using is the trick, because it is a messy process. But it is fun. This is fun even though I'm messing it up. If this wire was a little bit bigger gauge or a little bit thicker, whichever way you want to put it, then it would be easier for me to wrap it around. You're going to want to be able to do the thinner ones. Yeah, this is not going to come out right at all. But we're going to leave some of that cream colored showing in between the points. Now, as you can see, this is ginormous around, which it could be. Do you know what I mean? It could be. And my cream color's not showing now. And then some of the cream would show. And it would be gradual going up. And then the cream color isn't long enough, so we'll just have 2 of the black wrapped around. This has gotten so big and square, which I guess you could have a big square bead, but this is awful. I'm not even going to take a picture of it. It's so bad. Now see, this one is already stuck to another piece of paper, so I can wrap it around tighter and get it almost where I want it to be as far as the tightness, if I had enough Mod Podge on it so that it would stick. And so you just take the cream and the white and the black and you just keep going. And I think if you take some of the pointed ones and cut them off a lot smaller, they're a lot thinner, and you can get a better variated color, because we have totally covered the cream up. But we could have used the cream as a base just to get started if we were wrapping correctly. Yes, look how bad that looks. Anyway, you're just going to wrap it around until you get the size and the shape that you want. So now that this is big and insane, let's see if we can get this. Yeah, the paper tore because it was so wet. So you have to be careful about that too. However, now we can see some of the cream underneath, but look how big and goofy my bead looks. It should be round and gradually get larger. Alright, let's go with a piece of white, and I'm going to go with a really thin one. Got one right here. So I'm going to start with the wider part and then go to the thinner part, and then hopefully it will be in the middle of the black and you'll still be able to see the white. Look at that glue gobs I have on there. Let's get those off. But the black, the top layer of the black paper came off, and so I have black paper on my fingers stuck on with Mod Podge, which is not helping our project any, I can tell you that right now. I'll flip it over. And that way it's sticky on both sides. Let's see if that works better. Okay, so take the bigger part, wrap it around, and it will get narrower and narrower. Oh, we better cover that first. then it's not going to work on here because it's way too wide. And this shorter paper isn't going to wrap around very much. But the thinner and thinner will make a pattern. So now we have some of the cream, some of the black, and some of the white on my total disaster. Obviously, this takes more practice. You can slide this wire right out if you like, and let it dry with the perfect little hole in it, and use the same wire over again, except this one has the black on it. That black, I'm using 65-pound cardstock. That might be part of the problem. It might be too thick. You might want to use 32-pound paper, a little thicker than typing paper, but not as thick as this paper. So that's how you do it. I'm not going to keep going and mess up another one and make you watch me do that. But it should start out small all the way around. It'll get a little thicker in the center. Then you start in the center and make it thicker. Then you start in the center again with a smaller one, and that will give you one last color, just for a 3-color one. You know, you can come up with all kinds of combinations and shapes and all kinds of things just by wrapping different sizes around your wire. Okay? Alright, well that's it for this video, and I will see you in the next BeeBeeCraft video, which will be in about 2 months, and then we'll have another series of 3 on how to do something. Not this. I'm going to practice and see, but I think I'm going to get a little heavier gauge wire first, so to make it easier to wrap it around. It may be thicker than most people normally use. Let me put this back on and show you something first, if I can do it. Oops. Put this back in here. Wow. I must have squeezed it. There we go. Okay. So you would have this sticking out. Then you're going to take your pliers, the ones with the graduated end on it, maybe, and you're going to wrap it to make a place where the bead is not going to slide off. So you're just going to make a loop, a small loop. Look at me go. A small loop in the wire so that the paper cannot come off. This wire bends so easy, but I'm having trouble making it small enough. Remember, we want to be able to put a jump ring on it if we want to connect beads together. And so this cannot slide off. And then we can just cut this part off. I think this has a little snip on it. This is such thin wire. Might be able to, yeah. And then you've got your loop. Now, of course, your loop would not have a piece sticking out like that. It would come around and be flat, flush against there, if you want it to be. You know, you could make it decorative and have it stick out at the bottom like so. Push your bead down and it would be thin here, right? So it wouldn't cover your loop. It's still not going to come off. Let me turn it around. Because the center on this is already dried. So now here's your skinny end, which is what you should have at both ends. And you push it down to here, and it hits the loop, see, and it can't go off. And then you would put a jump ring on. If you wanted to connect this bead to another bead, which would be kind of fun. Wow, I can't even get this open. My hands are so weak today. I'm having trouble getting stuff open, and like bottles of tea. So we've got these beautiful colors, and all we would do is take one, there's two. That's easy to make one out of. Put it through here, through your loop. And then squeeze it together to close it in a circle. Do the same thing on your other bead, only wrap it through this one, the black one. And then squeeze it together. This is thin enough, I think I can do it. Almost. I'm trying to do it without pliers. Oops, it came off the loop. Anyway, you get the idea. You run this through the loop. There we no. And then tighten it so that it comes together and it doesn't come off. There we go. Sometimes one is taller than the others or higher than the other, so you have to kind of squeeze them together to get them to be the same and not twisted where one is higher than the other, like this. And then you squeeze them together so that they're closed and then even with each other. Okay, so we've got this little dangle on the end. You make a dangle on the end of another one, but you hook it around here, this one, the black one, before you close it. And we'll hook the two of them together, and you can just keep going if you like, and make a long dangle for like maybe the side of your book for, you know, your hang thing on the side of your book, which I can't, your journal, which I can't think of what it's called. Dangle. So that's how we do that. I showed you how to do it correctly. I just wasn't able to do it correctly. So do what I say and not as I do is the motto for this lesson. And that's going to be the end now. And thank you for joining me. And please make sure to go to BeeBeeCraft and get your crafting supplies. They also have a ton, 1 million or more jewelry supplies as well. That's where I got this this wire, and it comes in different gauges, and the gauge is the thickness of the wire, and they come in different colors. I have silver, gold, and a bronze color. Then they come in even more colors than that, and of course you can see the eyelets come in a ton of colors, so you can have a lot of fun and make some really colorful projects with all of this stuff that you get from BeeBeeCraft. And you can get your correct pliers, the correct trimmers for the heavier gauge wires, and all that good stuff on BeeBeeCraft itself, the head pins, and get the bigger ones with the bigger heads on them. And then you only have to make a curly Q at one end, and you can get all of that. Oh, and the die, we got the die. We got the die at BeeBeeCraft as well. Okay? Alright, well that's it for this video, and I'll see you next month for the next BeeBeeCraft unboxing and crafting videos. And have fun crafting with BeeBeeCraft. Bye-bye.